Chicks going full bush is the fascism of the sexual world. It may seem like a relic of the past that only exists in third world countries, but if we're not careful, it can happen here too, and everyone will suffer. So trim your pubes and turn up the volume. There's a fresh episode of the Savage Sack Tap starting right now.
You're listening to the Savage Sack Tap. It's not a podcast, it's not a half-cast, it's just a quick shot to the balls to help you finish off the week. We're cutting through the bullshit, filling your Friday with rage-fueled logic, and cracking a few jokes along the way. So grab a bag of frozen peas. There's a Savage Sack Tap coming your way.
Smooth, lascivious, salacious, outrageous.
They're going to cover Pocahontas, who was... Think of it. Think of it. She of the great tribal heritage. What tribe is it? Let me think about that one. Meantime, she's based her life on being a minority. Pocahontas. They always want me to apologize for saying it. And I hereby... Oh, no, I want to apologize. I'll use tonight. Pocahontas, I apologize to you. I apologize. To you, I apologize. To the fake Pocahontas, I won't apologize. No, it's causing her problems. You know, that name's causing, because now even the liberals are saying, take a test. Take a test. You know, I tell you, I shouldn't tell you because I like not to give away secrets, but this one. Let's say I'm debating Pocahontas, right? I promise you I'll do this. I will take, you know those little kits they sell on television for $2? Learn your heritage. Guy says, I was born in Scotland. It turns out he was born in Puerto Rico, and that's okay. Good. You know. Guy says, I was born in Germany. Well, he wasn't born in Germany. He was born someplace else. I'm going to get one of those little kits. And in the middle of the debate, when she proclaims that she's of Indian heritage, because her mother said she has high cheekbones. That's her only evidence, that her mother said she had high cheekbones. We will take that little kit and say, but we have to do it gently. Because we're in the Me Too generation, so we have to be very gentle. And we will very gently take that kit, and we will slowly toss it, hoping it doesn't hit her and injure her arm. Even though it only weighs probably 2 ounces. And we will say, I will give you $1 million to your favorite charity, paid for by Trump, if you take the test and it shows you're an Indian, you know. And let's see what she does, right? I have a feeling she will say no, but we'll hold that for the debates. Do me a favor, keep it within this room, because I don't want to give away any secrets. And the press is very honorable. They won't. Please don't tell her what I just said.
Oh my God, you have got to love it when fucking Orange Donald owns the libs, which is also my new favorite term. The libs are an easily riled bunch these days. They have been absolutely screaming about this fucking SCOTUS nominee. I guess they think he's going to take away their rights, which I haven't looked too deep into him. Honestly, I try not to live on the politics too much, because you just wind up getting riled yourself. Everyone gets riled these days when we talk politics, and it's annoying and tribal, and it's just it's fucking bullshit. But the libs, yeah, not happy with Mr. Was it Kavanaugh? Is that his name, Mr. Kavanaugh? They say he's going to take away the rights of I guess women who want abortions. They don't seem to mind when it's the Second Amendment that's at stake. Anything else, they get an uproar over rights. But apparently that right to bear arms, not a big deal for them. But anyway, I am Mike Montone. This is the Savage Sack Tap. And before we get going, a quick shout out to Joey and Gene if they're listening to this one. My brother defied the odds. It turned out that he was hetero after all, and he is now engaged to a lovely young woman. And I gain another sister. My my sister finally gets a sister. And she said, although for a while we thought my brother might be her sister. So, it's kind of, that kind of evened out, a zero-sum game there. We did that down at the New Jersey ashore. We had the engagement and everything this weekend. It was a lot of fun. So very, very happy for those two. Looking forward to the wedding and the bachelor party, all sorts of shit. Not sure what I have planned yet. I might try to hire a couple midgets to have like a midget on midget wrestling match, or like a one-on-one game of basketball on a couple little Fisher Price hoops, something like that. We gotta cook up something retarded for the kiddo, for my kid brother. I don't even know what kid brother actually. I think it just means younger brother. And I don't know if at the age, we're in our 30s and 20s now, I don't know if kid brother still applies, but I never used it in my youth because no one spoke like that in the 1990s. Usually you just referred to your brother as that faggot. But yeah, my kid brother, a.k.a. that faggot, engaged to a beautiful young woman. So we're very, very happy for them. It was a big week, not only for the Montone family, as a whole, but for me as well, and by which I mean it was a big week for train weirdos. And as you guys know, I ride the train pretty much fucking everywhere since I got rid of my money guzzler of a car. I had, what did we start with? I was on my way down to Belmar on Friday after work. It's where my girlfriend picks me up. That's like our shore meeting point. Belmar's like our town, and it's easier for her to get to, so she picks me up, and if we're going to do a Long Beach Island, she'll take me from there. I get off work at 4, head over to Penn Station, hop on the old North Jersey coastline down to Belmar, and sitting across from me, I'm cracking a brew, listening to some podcasts, just enjoying a Friday afternoon, and sitting across from me is, I don't know what their fucking deal was, but they were definitely from the Midwest, because the guy had on a sweatshirt from some college I'd never heard of, so I looked it up, and it was a very good liberal arts school in Ohio, probably along the lines of like, it was a Division 3 for athletics, so I guess, along the lines of kind of a Muhlenberg, just, a big fucking money-sucking shitbox of a liberal arts school, and they both looked like very unhappy cherubs, if that makes any sense. And I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with what a cherub is, but if you've ever seen those creepy angel figurines that old women like to keep in their homes, like they'll usually have them like decorating sort of the china cabinet. That's a cherub. Pale skin, very fat, rosy cheeks. But anyway, I couldn't tell. My first inclination was that they were siblings, but then I was going back and forth between sibling relationship. I wasn't quite sure, because like I said, they both looked a lot alike, but they were fighting, and they weren't fighting like siblings. Like, if siblings are going to fight, they're going to go get into it with each other and be like, look, you're an idiot, all right, and the fact that they are siblings or like pals of some kind will come up. She was giving him the business about where they were seated on the train, because it was sort of a long ways bench seat. They didn't have a private two to each other, because at 5 o'clock on a summer Friday, if, going from Penn Station to the shore, you're not getting a private seat. Try as you. I did pull it off Memorial Day weekend. I put my backpack on the seat, and some fucking schlub comes up, and he's like, hey, anyone sitting here? I'm like, oh, yeah, I'm saving the seat for my girlfriend. She's in the bathroom. And then he took off, and then I just popped my shot and buried my head in my hoodie to kind of give the impression of, oh, this guy, maybe he's taking a nap. Don't mess with him. He doesn't want to be bothered. And I managed to get on a holiday weekend, not only a holiday weekend, but the holiday weekend in New Jersey, a seat to myself. But anyway, these two definitely engaged in some sort of dispute over seating. And I can't imagine an argument between siblings or friends going that ice cold over a seating argument. You know what I mean? This is only the kind of thing that is a small enough deal for someone to get mad enough at a significant other to really go at it over. But she did have a decent little rack though, so I gotta give her that one. Anyway, I took the, like I said, I ride the rails everywhere. I took the train back up from the shore after the weekend was over, and this just group of incredibly effeminate teenagers. And you can tell that I'm not effeminate because I just burped pure whiskey onto that microphone here. Right onto that pop filter. Just covered it in bourbon. And so manly am I that you can, if you're watching this on the video feed right now, I drink that shit neat because I'm not a bitch. You heard me? In any case, this group of just effeminate teenage boys got on the train in Asbury, which, by the way, Asbury Park, great. I fucking love Asbury Park. It's kind of a hipstery town, very gay, big gay influence there, but also sort of where like Bruce Springsteen brings. Let me get the cock. Speaking of gay towns, let me get the cock out of my mouth. Yeah, Jersey City's going gay right now, huh? Just kind of where Bruce Springsteen made his bones, and there are a lot of cool clubs, rock venues and dance clubs, and just kind of something for everyone there, including the gays. But holy shit, man, that train station is still a fucking third world country. I mean, it was like, I felt like I was in fucking Somalia there. Some guy dropped a backpack next to the garbage can, and all of a sudden these like bearded gay guys started freaking out. I think they called 911, actually. My train came and I jumped on before I could see the end of it. But yeah, they're all fucking, they're all like, he's like, I don't know, I saw something, and they always say if you see something, you have to say something. So I'm saying something, and I hope nothing happens, but I have to say something. I was just like, all right, I'm just going to walk to the other end of the platform and hope that the frag radius on this thing isn't more than about 10 meters. But yeah, guy got on the train unscathed, without a piece of shrapnel or a cock inside of me. So always successful to leave Asbury Park without a cock inside of you. But yeah, these fucking kids were just like high-pitched squealing laughter, all very chubby, chunky fucking teenagers. Looked like they were about 16 years old. They definitely didn't blow off football practice to go down the shore, I guess is what I'm saying. Doesn't look like they had been getting too much exercise or testosterone. Very, very sad. I felt bad for them. But my favorite guy, my favorite train weirdo from the entire weekend, and as you guys know, I come across a very, very great many train weirdos. A lot of weirdos riding NJ Transit, and very sad. I think my favorite weirdo from the train was this guy. Looked like he had been doing fucking blow inside all weekend. Like no suntan, but just a very fucking red caked face and disheveled. Dressed like he worked in middle management at Initech, the company from Office Space, where they're all wearing those sort of nondescript short sleeve button down shirts with the ties, and he was making these very nervous phone calls, and then of course he proceeded to drop his coffee and have it explode all over his pants and his shoes and the floor of the train, and he had to go to the bathroom, and it's an NJ Transit bathroom. It's not like there's a lot of toilet paper fucking shit to get. You're lucky if you get toilet paper in there at all. So he's trying to mop up an entire coffee cup with like a square of toilet paper. It was just, he looked like he was having a rough day. It was a Sunday night. All this guy wanted to, he didn't even have a fucking seat on the train. He was standing room only. And then he drops his coffee and it fucking explodes all over his pants. I mean, talk about your poor fucking bastards. Most of my train weirdos I fucking hate. This guy I just felt legitimately bad for. I did not feel bad for the other people sitting on the car while I farted like a fucking madman from Asbury Park up to Secaucus. I was just letting them slip. We had a big eating and boozing weekend, obviously to celebrate the engagement, and then I stopped at my one of my favorite Asbury hangouts, fucking Johnny Mac's, right there across the street from the train station. And every time you buy a drink, they give you a ticket for a free bar pie, and it's good shit. Like it's not like a microwave bar pie. It's like a coal-fired fucking oven bar pie. It's fantastic. If you're in Asbury, you got to hit up Johnny Mac's. Sundays during brunch, you get an omelet. The rest of the day, you get a bar. And it goes at night, too. So, like, you're boozing, partying, you need a little snack, just go over and get a fucking bar pie. It's awesome. You get an ice-cold beer on a summer night, and you grab a bar pie. You cannot go wrong. It fucking rules. So, anyway, I was just dripping fucking steamy farts out of my ass the entire way up. And it's great because it's a packed train, so no one has any clue where they're coming from, and my head's just buried in the book I'm reading right now, which is The Corporation. Fucking unbelievable. Talk about that towards the end of the episode. But I was just gassing everybody, and you could tell, like, a couple people looking around. I could see the conductor taking a whiff or two in the air. I was like, they have no clue. And I look like, most of the crowd on that train is disheveled. I'm rather sheveled, if we're being totally honest. No one knew it was me, which is just tremendous stuff. I still smelled like fucking ass the next day, though. You know when you've just been farting and shitting your brains out for like a whole day and you can't shake the smell? I was dealing with a bit of that the next day. Like, I still just had this shower, didn't get it out, nothing. Just this pungency about me, whereby I smelled like absolute fart for about 24 hours. So I had to leave work and just go for a stroll around the West Village for like 30 minutes when no one was paying attention. They were all eating lunch upstairs, so I just fucking walked out. It's like, hey, let's send a little Slack message out. I was like, yeah, I'll be back in a few. Yeah, people think you're going out for coffee, getting a sandwich, whatever. They don't realize you're going around the West Village to air the fart out of your fucking khaki. Just smelling like absolute fucking ass. Summer in this, by the way, if you're visiting New York City, do yourself a favor and walk around some of our less touristy neighborhoods during the summertime. I'm not saying to go out to like East New York or Brownsville or anything like that, but go where people work. Like, don't go to Times Square. Go down like West Village. What else is a good? Flatiron's good. Financial District is good. You see chicks walking around. Everyone loves warm weather, but chicks love warm weather because they don't have to hide their outfits underneath fucking jackets and all that bullshit. So they get dressed when it's fucking warm weather time. A couple times a year when chicks get dressed. The holidays, Christmas, New Year's, one of them. And then when it starts to get nice and warm out in an urban setting, girls get fucking dressed. And every single chick walking the streets of New York City in warm weather is looking at you like they just want to fuck. Like, if you're a dude with your shit even remotely together, go into the city and go out to a bar when it's nice out and just pull some puss, man. Because let me tell you something, those chicks are ready to fuck. Get that Tinder game going, Bumble, whatever's your pleasure, and just go to town. There is just something nice about sundresses and suntans. You see a girl in a sundress and you just want to get up in that thing, don't you? You don't even want to take it off. You just want to pull it up and fucking start munching that box and go to fucking town on that just wet ass beef. You don't even. I know I ripped on the big bush before I got started here, but you get in there under a sundress and you find a little dew growing on the ferns. You're not gonna mind. You just want to fucking get into that thing. You see a sundress and you almost hope that they don't have panties on. But oh man, oh Christ, if you see a fucking girl in a sundress on a summer afternoon strutting that ass in the city and you don't just want to get a fucking mouthful of box, then you might be a homosexual. I don't know how would gay Jeff Foxworthy do that? Then you might be a homosexual. If you see a girl in a sundress and you don't want to lick her from crack to clit, then you might be a homosexual. Oh my God. When you see, like, when you're walking behind one and the sundress kind of gets caught up in the butt crack there because they got a thong on and it's sticking to their body, and you get the outline of that whole whale tail. You know what I'm fucking talking about? Oh fucking my! Just absolutely delightful. Hashtag me too. But I have noticed a lot more people going out during the day to get blazed around the West Village when I'm strolling. Some of them are just blatantly firing up blunts on the sidewalk, which is fucking awesome. And others are just hitting the hitting the vape, but not me, of course. I would never dream of partaking during the work day. But to my fellow stoners out there, I see you, and thank you for taking advantage of the De Blasio administration's guidance to stop charging people for getting blazed on the street. Good stuff. Finally, fucking dumbass Blasio does something good for us. But you can't go for a walk in New York City without running into a whole lot of fucking idiots. I see them right outside my office. They all line up like a bunch of fucking jackasses for the food trucks. Yeah, what do you gotta line up around the block to pay $20 for lunch? Like, what do you get? What's that 1995 get you? Fucking crab cake the size of a silver dollar and a dollop of mac and cheese? Get the fuck out of here. You go, you make your own shit, you bring it in, it's cheaper, it's more convenient, probably fucking tastes better. You don't have to wait in line behind some asshole and pay $25 for a fucking snack. Fucking idiots. And they're all so fucking slow and dopey, and it just makes it even angrier, even more infuriating when I see them loading up on empty calories. It's like they have nothing else going on in their lives, so they're like, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just load up on these empty ass calories. How about that, motherfucker? May as well. Hey, look, if we're on our way towards universal health care, may as well make you pay for my fucking clogged arteries and diabetes. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. And look, here's the thing. It's the same breed of dumbass that has no problem using their phone on a crowded New York City sidewalk. If you see a doughy jackass waddling towards a food truck, odds are that not only are they moving at a fucking inch per hour to get over to their fried food in the afternoon, but they're also doing it while staring down at a cell phone while other more physically fit people are trying to maneuver around them. And it's incredibly fucking infuriating, because there is no more self-indulged douchebag fucking move than to be walking down the street in New York City on a fucking work day, when people are trying to get to the subway, to the path, to the office, maybe you got a meeting, maybe you're trying to quick grab some fucking coffee before, they waddle. And they move from side to side. They don't even let you get around them. It's almost like this passive-aggressive fuck you to anyone who's in reasonable shape, that they're like, yeah, I'm gonna park my fat ass that's the size of 1.5 to 2 people right here in the sidewalk and move super slow, and I'm gonna do it close enough to the other lane of sidewalk traffic that's coming the other way, so that you can't maneuver around me, because you got to give me good clearance, because it's also, like Mr. Trump said, the Me Too generation. So if you so much as graze me, it's going to be caught on camera that you're a fucking perv, and I'm going to start going fucking nuts. So then we're going to get you on either the fat shaming or the fucking Me Too shit, or you just being a fucking asshole for trying to get around a fat ass, and it just doesn't work. And as you can tell, on any given day, I hold about, say 60% of the general population in just sheer contempt. A sort of Patrick Bateman degree of contempt. I mean, they are just fucking awful. And it goes from, society has just become so fucking inconsiderate. Everyone is slow and lazy and dumb, and it just sucks. Like, I am so fucking tired of from the idiots who don't put weights away at the gym, to morons who waddle around in the vicinity of public transportation that get in the way when I'm trying to get to the fucking train. It's just like everyone is a fucking moron. And I look, if you're listening to this, if the shoe fits, but I assume that if you're a Sack Tap listener, you're like me. You just want to, you want to eliminate these people. Get rid of them. Ugh. Fucking terrible. This is, I'm gonna Just gonna pump the brakes right now because this is starting to sound like one of those manifestos that gets left behind when some fucking crazed straight white male shoots up a shopping mall or a college campus or something like that. And I would really rather not go in that direction. So here's what's coming up in this episode of Ye Old Savage Sack Tap. Apologies if you hear the door slamming behind me. Apartment living. What are you gonna do? I got Vulture versus Jerry Seinfeld. Oh, this was a tremendous article filled with stupidity, as was this other one, which I just call Some Idiot versus The Simpsons. And speaking of things being versus other things, how about these cuck professors at the University of Wyoming versus the name Cowboys, right? Because when do we ever reference cowboys in America? Yeah. And apparently Justin Trudeau likes to grab him by the pussy as well, and then tell you about these Cuban gangsters up here in old Union City. Before we do all of that, I want to give a quick social plug and an update on that Justice for Junior story that I told you about last week. These fucking scumbags out in the Bronx. Real quick, Facebook.com/The Savage Crew. That's where you can find pretty much everything. You go up to the top of the page. All of our podcast download links are glued to the top of the page. So you can find anywhere podcasts are downloaded, we're there. iTunes, Libsyn, Podbean, Stitcher, Pocket Casts. You fucking name it, we're there. Twitter at Mike Montone. Of course, please give me a follow. Instagram at Gary_Moiler. And the podcast is, well, if you're listening to this right now, you probably found it at thesavagecrew.libsyn.com. All right. Justice for Junior. So here's where we kind of left off. Last time, I think they were at 11 on the arrests, and we believed the motive was payback over a sex tape. And people were going after the bodega owners as well for not saving him when the gang came in and slashed him up. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, search the hashtag Justice for Junior, get caught up on the whole thing. But what happened was a case of mistaken identity. The Trinitarios gang in New York City wound up hacking up this innocent 15-year-old kid who was said to be the sweetest kid in the neighborhood. And the whole thing got caught on video, and it's incredibly chilling video of the kid being dragged out of a bodega where he went to hide. And then, I don't know if you know anything about the Trinitarios, but the Trinis, their weapon of choice is the machete. They're kind of proud to, if you shoot someone, you're a pussy. A real man hacks somebody up. So that's sort of the Trini mindset. There's a very good History Channel documentary about them if you're looking to learn more about the gang. But so they're saying a few things we got here. New motive is that it was actually the reason for the killing was the gang boss had sent his guys out, his crew out, as sort of a hit squad looking for members of, I believe it was a different Trinitario set is what they call them. Different groups under one gang umbrella are called a set. And I guess there was a rivalry with another Trini set, and they were sent out to whack these guys in the street. And they see this kid, Junior, was it Lisandro Guzman Feliz, if I can say it with the appropriate Spanish accent. And they cut him up on the street corner in the Bronx, and he tried to get himself to a hospital, but he couldn't. And so the entire chain of command is in jail pretty much. They just arrested a 12th dude hiding. He was driving up in Connecticut, and they're all in protective custody. There's 3 of them to a cell block, and so far nobody is talking. Because what these gangs do is, obviously you pay money up the organization, and they have to pay dues and stuff, sort of like you're in a fraternity or club or some shit. And what that money goes for, instead of the winter social with the Kappa house that you might have from your fraternity, what the money your gang dues go to is things like medical and funeral and legal fees. So these guys will get they will wind up getting, it's not like, oh, they're going to get a public defender and it's going to that's it, they're done. These guys are probably going to get pretty good, decent representation, because if you're a higher up in the gang, it serves your interest to make sure your sort of minions aren't getting killed with heavy sentences, because you don't want them you don't want the prosecution dangling a deal in front of them, being like, hey, you talk, you walk, I got you. So what they do is they shell out for very good legal representation, and these guys, look, unless they can flip, this Alvarez guy was saying he wasn't a gang member, so you hope maybe you can flip him. He's got a couple of kids, but who knows? So I will continue following this. I'm going to keep you in. There are a couple other crimes in the city that I'd like to kind of check in on. Obviously it's not a fucking true crime show, so I can't spend all my time on that. But yeah, be on the lookout be on the listen out from this show for more on Justice for Junior. And if you're on social, definitely check it out. Hashtag Justice for Junior is what they're all using, and you can really get some great insight into what's going on in the neighborhood there. But with no further ado, we'll jump into the rest of the topics for this week's episode. Okay, so first couple things I wanted to check out today involve sort of whiny progressive types against straight white male comedians, right? And who is a more successful straight white male comedian than Jerry Seinfeld? So we'll start with the comedians in cars getting coffee, and then we'll move on to something else that is near and dear to my heart. The Simpsons, again, sort of a... if you are to look at... I guess the black community calls it the culture. If you were to look at the culture of the millennial straight white, especially the older millennial and Gen X straight white male, The Simpsons, an essential role in that existence as well. So we're looking at outrage against the both Seinfeld and The Simpsons. We start with we're going to start with Jerry. What's the deal with these people from Vulture getting upset about my show? I don't know if that was any good or not, but do my best. I think it had to be a little bit easily. I don't know. What's the deal? I don't care. Don't listen. Don't watch. Whatever. I'll see if at some point it's appropriate for me to break into Seinfeld voice during this. I will do my best. I don't know if that sucked or was any good, but they start off by bashing Seinfeld for making the show about himself. They say, ultimately, there's no one we learn more about while watching the show than Seinfeld himself. Well, it's his fucking show. And they say, even when he gives his Java-drinking buddies room to discuss their own experiences and opinions, he has a tendency to express his own feelings, especially about comedy, in a way that implies he knows best. Okay. Here's the thing. He does know best because Jerry Seinfeld is like the most successful, highly lauded, respected, revered, whatever adjective you want to throw out there, comedian in the history of the world. He had the definitive sitcom in the history of TV, the show by which all others will be judged, the comedian by which all others will be judged is Jerry fucking Seinfeld. He is the king. He is the legend. You write for Vulture. No one cares what you have to say. And then they're mad because yada yada. I guess at some point he's interviewing Tracy Morgan, and Tracy Morgan says that one of Seinfeld's jokes is funny because it's rooted in truth, and Seinfeld says, funny has nothing to do with being true and honest. I don't know, that was a terrible Seinfeld. But he says Seinfeld is saying that comedy has nothing to do specifically with truth. Now, of course, you can be true and honest when making a joke, but the point of making a joke is to be funny. This apparently lost on Vulture, who then points to Hannah Gadsby's Nanette, which is on Netflix right now, and I will not rip it apart without having watched it yet, but it is apparently just her talking about getting raped for an hour, and she's like this kind of like butch lesbian-looking woman, and I've heard her interviewed before, and she did not come off as particularly funny. Perhaps I will give it a view and it will change my mind. I'm probably gonna have to get pretty high for that. Maybe tonight. The Mets have been pretty depressing. Let me watch a butch lesbian talk about getting raped for an hour. That'll put a smile on my face. Hashtag me too. She goes on to say, perhaps that's why Seinfeld's humor felt so right in the 1990s and feels less in sync with the current moment. The 90s were steeped in postmodernism. Irony, satire, and sarcasm were celebrated qualities in works of mainstream pop culture. Seinfeld's blasé attitude and his gift for highlighting and questioning social minutiae fit in perfectly in that era and ultimately exemplified it. But in 2018, when the world is bursting apart every 5 minutes, complaining about little things comes across as selfish, and being ambivalent is considered a flaw. Again, considered a flaw by who? You write for fucking Vulture. You are not a fucking comedian. You don't get to tell us what's funny. You don't get to tell... I'm not a comedian. I'm a podcaster, but I crack a lot of jokes. I consider myself a reasonably funny person. People who write for Vulture and complain about comedy don't get to tell funny people what's funny. Let's make that a rule. And even if you don't think that I'm funny, then fine. This jackass can tell me what's funny, but this jackass certainly doesn't get to tell Seinfeld what's funny. You know, there's sort of a broad line of demarcation drawn between the editorial staff at Vulture and the writing staff for, I don't know, Seinfeld, the greatest sitcom in the history of the fucking world. He had Ellen on, which they get to next actually, and I watched the episode with Ellen, and they seem to get on perfectly fine. I think they're old friends, but the article continues to hammer home this idea that we can't have comedy anymore without the comedy being deep and meaningful, and everything has to be about something. It can't just be about, she's suing because the coffee was too hot. It's coffee. It's supposed to be hot. What's the deal with airplane peanut? My Seinfeld impersonation fucking blows. I'm sorry, but I am having fun doing it. But Ellen asks him, the world's kind of a scary place. You got kids. There's North Korea. There's fires. There's storms. It's just very overwhelming. And she's like, so, Jerry, do you care? And he just says, no. Yeah, it's Seinfeld. He doesn't give a... Seinfeld cares about cereal, sneakers, the Mets, and Superman, and women with fantastic breasts. These are the things that Jerry Seinfeld cares about, and he says as much because Ellen, she's like, oh, do you talk to your kids about that? And he's like, no, I don't fucking... She's like, well, when I talk to your kids, I'm going to ask them what they think. And Seinfeld just fires back, yeah, I don't really care what they think. And this writer is so mad that he doesn't give a shit, because comedians in cars getting coffee, it comes from a privileged place, because rich people are driving around and drinking high-end lattes. They don't have to go to work or deal with responsibilities. And she's saying that Seinfeld, because he has this privilege, should be more woke. He says, no one would ever accuse Seinfeld of being woke, but there are times in comedians in cars when he seems to be the anti-woke. And he sort of cites, or she sort of cites an interaction that he has with Dana Carvey, where he says, you know what I haven't heard from anyone about the Harvey Weinstein thing? I'm not surprised. And what he's saying is that everyone in Hollywood expresses these insane amounts of outrage over the Me Too and how could these fucking men do this, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and everyone's mad, but no one's saying, hey, no fucking shit, this guy did that. This guy used his position of power to molest women. How did we not see this coming? We all should have known. And he's right. People did know. That is what he's asking is why are people not saying I'm not surprised? the author here is angry because she says it's a puzzling statement considering many women were not surprised by Weinstein's behavior and said as much publicly. But the thing is, the power brokers in Hollywood, who's Meryl Streep is the big fucking loudmouth who's always going off about social issues, who was best friends with Harvey Weinstein. You don't think she knew what the fuck was up? If you don't think that Meryl Streep knows about everything that goes on in fucking Hollywood, you are out of your fucking mind. So that was Seinfeld's indictment of Hollywood. It wasn't that nobody knew. He wasn't saying that nobody knew. What he's saying is that people did know, and that the ones who were supposed to be saying something did not say shit. He's acknowledging that people should have been speaking up. He's not talking about the fucking victims. He's talking about the people who empowered this fucking cocksucker and enabled him to abuse women forever like this. And, like, you know, obviously, like, again, I'm a fucking booze hound. I love to go out and party. Definitely times on the dance floor when I've probably been drunk, gotten a little grabby, had girls do the same to me. I think if you've been out there and partied, you've definitely fucking done that. You know, we're not talking about shit like that. We are talking about a pattern of disgusting, disturbing behavior over a period of decades in a town where there may be secrets, but there are no. Everyone knew. Seth MacFarlane was calling this shit out forever, and to say that people who were in power in Hollywood didn't fucking know is absurd. And then to kind of drop that all on Seinfeld for making a crack, it's just absolutely ridiculous. He made a gay joke as well. I guess him and Dana Carvey went to check out guitars at a music shop. Which, by the way, I will say, yeah, privileged indeed. Sounds fucking awesome. I mean, your dream should be to host comedians in cars getting coffee, but they're playing guitar, and Seinfeld. You know, I feel so Carvey's playing the guitar and singing to Seinfeld, and Jerry says, "I feel so uncomfortable right now. You're looking me in the eye. You're playing the guitar. This is gay. We're gay." And she says, "I waited for not that there's anything wrong with that." But it never came, because every fucking time we make a gay joke now, we have to tag it with, but it's totally fine. In fact, we're not even supposed to make gay jokes anymore. I think I used the word fag earlier in this episode, and well, I don't think I'm allowed to do that. But anyway, moving on. I think these last two episodes I'm gonna explain right here kind of sum up Jerry Seinfeld in a nutshell, because Seinfeld doesn't give a shit what anyone thinks, and this is sort of the perfect little domino of that. He's got Kate McKinnon on, and he says something. He's ripping on whatever, and he says, "Oh, well, that might not come off well." And then he says, "You know what? Screw social media, because where do people go to complain? Social media." But do you think Jerry fucking Seinfeld has time for your bullshit complaints about anything? He's Jerry fucking Seinfeld. He doesn't care. And this is the best part of it. He had Neil Brennan on, who used to write for Chappelle. I fucking love Neil Brennan. And his brother Kevin, also very funny. Neil Brennan is like, "Yeah, I've only seen a couple episodes of Seinfeld. Every time I turned on the show, you guys were worried about a jacket." And Seinfeld laughs, and, he's like, "I don't give a shit. You didn't watch it, whatever." That is Jerry Seinfeld in a nutshell. He doesn't care. He's got other things to worry about. He doesn't know what those other things are, but he doesn't care. Have you ever seen on the show Seinfeld, when Jerry gets dumped by a woman, do you know what his reaction is? That's a shame. Well, that's a shame. What are you going to do? All right. I don't know. That's it. He just shrugs it off. Brushes the dirt off his shoulder. If you feeling like a pimp, Jerry, come on, brush those shoulders off. All right, moving on. More garbage from a woman writing about comedy. What a fucking surprise. It's so hard because there are a lot of funny chicks out there whose work I really enjoy, but it seems like the bulk of the time one of these fucking articles is written about how so-and-so or such and such isn't funny, and how we should, its time is over, and we should really be more woke or more aware or whatever. But it's always coming from a fucking chick writing for one of these sort of smarmy liberal outlets. Let's take a look here. She says, "I watched The Simpsons for the first time ever, and I couldn't stand it. How do you people put up with Homer's nastiness for so long?" So first of all, this idiot, her parents would not, I guess, she says her parents weren't fans of animated television, which, were you not allowed to watch fucking Rugrats? Like, there's something very suspect about that. So a coworker convinces her to watch The Simpsons. By the way, I want to preface this with, it has been en vogue in the liberal blogging community lately to bash The Simpsons ever since that Apu documentary came out. I was channeling my inner Barney Gumble. But it has sort of been in vogue, if you're a progressive blogger, to slam The Simpsons since about November or so when that article came out. The article's about the documentary. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. Shut up, long day. This is like it's gotta be an over-the-top troll job. She says she watched 11 episodes, again, because she had never seen The Simpsons before, because there was always a fucking weirdo in every class growing up who wasn't allowed to watch The Simpsons. And what a weird line in the sand to draw. I mean, later it got extended. My parents tried to keep me from watching South Park for a while, and great job, Mom and Dad. It's now one of my favorite shows. Swing and a miss there. But, you just your parents are asleep by fucking 9:30. You get up out of bed, walk downstairs, turn on the TV, boom, South Park. In any case, here is, she watched 11 episodes. Lisa the Vegetarian, very funny episode. Homer the Heretic, very funny. Last Exit to Springfield, season 4, I'm not sure what that is. Homer's Enemy, Frank Grimes, hilarious. Marge vs. the Monorail, a legendary episode. And Maggie Makes 3, the story about how they got Maggie. Homer the Great, One Fish, Two Fish, Blowfish, Bluefish. I believe that is that the one? Is that the one where there's like a fucking three-eyed fish in the pond because of the nuclear runoff? Homer Badman, I'm not sure what that is. Treehouse of Horror 1. Again, you could not have a more essential portion of the Halloween season than the Treehouse of Horror episode every year. I fucking love Treehouse of Horror. And of course, Who Shot Mr. Burns? That was like the big, when I was growing up, Who Shot Mr. Burns was the biggest fucking thing, because everyone was waiting to the next week to find out who shot Monty Burns. But she says, on balance, I did not enjoy this show, because I've never enjoyed sitcoms, which it's kind of tough to expect someone who never enjoyed sitcoms to watch, a comedy and give what we would call an objective review, right? It sounds like she may not be the right gal for the job right off the bat, and she prefers serialized TV. So basically, she says, the only sitcom I truly love, The Good Place, is extremely serialized. I have no fucking clue what The Good Place is, but it sounds absolutely atrocious, because I can't imagine anything funny being called The Good Place, unless it was like a joke about some kid who got molested at camp or something like that. I don't know. She says, my dislike of it extends beyond the format, because she absolutely hates Homer, and she couldn't stand watching the show. He is again, this is the Jerry Seinfeld thing all over the place. Find me a character, a piece of Americana more identifiable and loved than Homer Simpson. She's got to be fucking retarded. You're either laughing at his expense, which simply makes me sad, or you're supposed to laugh at the scenarios he manages to get into and out of due to his inanity. And most of his triumphs seem to be at the expense of people who are actually conscientious and hard work. First of all, yes, you are laughing at the expense of a character in a cartoon comedy, and yes, you are because of the situation element of the show, you are laughing at the way he bumbles his way in and out of these situations. That is how a comedy works. There has to be some sort of a problem in there to be. Otherwise, it's not funny. There is nothing funny without like a, there needs to be sort of that axis for the funny to revolve around, and usually that funny is some kind of problem. And where do these problems tend to come from in comedies? But the stupidity of one of the people involved. So yes, you apparently this woman can no longer watch any kind of comedy whatsoever. God forbid she pop on an early 90s sitcom about a guy who accidentally asked two girls to the same dance on the same night, because she would absolutely have her fucking head explode. And if you understand the episode Homer's Enemy, where Homer goes toe-to-toe with this guy Frank Grimes, who is the polar opposite of Homer in pretty much every way, right? He's hardworking, he's fit, he eats healthy, he's the perfect employee. She says, I found myself wishing that it was Homer who died at the end of the episode rather than Grimy, because she is a fucking idiot. But this is my favorite part. The thing that bothers her the most is the fact that Marge's genius is not fully explored. She says she's continually treated like a doormat. Says the Simpsons started in 1989 before political correctness, otherwise known as being tolerant and conscientious towards people, was a concern for a lot of folks. Again, it's very hard to have politically correct comedy. Okay? Because, again, in comedy, there must be someone must be the butt of the joke. For comedy to occur, things must be going not so good for somebody. Otherwise, comedy is tragedy viewed from across the street. Or otherwise, comedy is when something bad happens to somebody else. You know what I mean? Tragedy happening to anyone other than me, that is comedy. And she says, this is so stupid. She says, I didn't go into it expecting it to be free of prejudice, but the fact that people still loved the show and considered it progressive for its time gave me a kernel of hope. I don't understand why she doesn't just divorce Homer's dumb ass. I didn't have to take notes as I watched in order to remember these moments. Okay, so a couple of things here. First of all, when people call The Simpsons progressive, what they mean is that they take very intelligent and playful jabs at whatever the establishment is at the time, and go through an episode and pick it out. I mean, the Republican Party is always portrayed as sort of these evil, money hungry, overly conservative lunatics. I mean, they go after everybody, and in that way they are progressive. I don't even know what to fuck. This is almost exhausting. I gave this article to a couple buddies to peruse, and one of my buddies, who actually is a very progressive gentleman, a Hillary Clinton voter, a bleeding heart, let's get rid of the fucking guns liberal, was infuriated not by the show, which he loves, but by the fucking article for how stupid it is. She goes down her list of episodes here, and again, she's ripping apart classic episodes. Marge versus the monorail. She gets mad that Marge's suggestion of using a budgetary surplus to fix roads is ignored, and they build a monorail instead, and then they decide to fix the roads only after the monorail doesn't. I mean, I feel bad reading this fucking drivel to you. She's mad that the men take credit. At the end of the episode, the men take credit. Which, is this fucking more... I don't know if I'm being uber trolled by this, or if she's just a fucking idiot who doesn't realize that the joke being the men are taking credit for the idea that was the woman's, and in doing so, the show is taking a progressive position. It's really hard to... It's Vice... So I know that they could have just been fucking around at the Vice offices and been like, hey, you want to troll a bunch of 20 and 30-something white males? Write an article about how The Simpsons sucks. The Frank Grimes episode, Homer's Enemy, Marge cooks a lobster dinner and everything goes to shit. and apparently they say it's not Homer's. The point of that is that Homer's a fucking doof. The point of that entire episode, the entire fucking series, is that Homer is fucking retarded. I mean, you could not have a show more make the point that this guy is a fucking idiot, and without, like, his wife and daughter and every once in a while son bailing him out of trouble, he would be completely fucked. I don't know how she misses this. Again, and Maggie makes 3, which is, of course, the episode where if Homer pays off all of his debts, so he decides to quit his job at the nuclear plant so he can go pursue his dream of working at the bowling alley, and then finds out that Marge is pregnant with Maggie, which means he's going to need more money, and he has to go back to the power plant. I believe I think that's the one where Homer has to crawl through the little door on his hands and knees so Burns can do the "so you've come crawling back, eh?" or whatever. I can't do a good Monty Burns. I'm terribly sorry. And if you hear I don't know if they're Indian or Sri Lankan talking in the background, but they're outside. The chick looks like a little bit of a old piece of ass there. Not bad. Probably kind of stinky though, right? Is that racist? I don't know. Not loud enough for them to hear me. And then she gets to one of my favorite episodes. It's called Homer Bad Man. Homer goes to... There's a candy convention in Springfield, and Homer just loads up, and Marge serves as his candy mule, as she so eloquently puts it here. So she's mad about that, which, again... Couples go to things where one portion of the couple thinks it blows and the other portion of the couple thinks it's cool, and that's it. That's the way it goes, and one's getting dragged by the other. Obviously, a candy convention, the fat guy is going to be the one dragging the wife through the candy convention. Not a very difficult premise to understand. What gets her the most riled up about that, in a way that only an episode of a 90s show could, Homer is indicted by the media for sexually harassing a female grad student, except he was only grabbing a gummy Venus de Milo off of her butt, not grabbing her ass. And he winds up on, I think what's the Kent Brockman show? Is it Nightline with Kent Brockman? And they edit the interview to make him look like he's, a groper, as they call you now, a groper. And she's angry because, while this episode does a great job of demonstrating the way media can snowball out of control, the episode's entire premise is a load of hogwash. No one, literally not a single person on the planet, would protest about a female grad student getting ass grabbed. Okay, dumbass. There was literally an entire fucking march in millions of people taking to the street in cities around the country because Donald Trump was heard on a recording joking about grabbing women by the pussy. Not even actually doing it. No evidence to say he actually did it, and a tape that was shortened by the liberal media to sound like he was just saying, and then you can grab them by the pussy, and it's fantastic and terrific, and Tic Tacs and kissing and grab the pussy. No, none of that. All of that. But they didn't include the part at the beginning. It was like, and I moved on her like a bitch. I took her furniture shopping. Very sad. Where he's just making fun of himself for striking out with chicks, and then these busting boys like, oh yeah, when you're a star, they just let you just grab them by the pussy. And by the way, there are indeed women who, if you are a celebrity, will allow you to grab them by the pussy. They are totally cool with it because they realize it's I guess like a coochie for cash is what I was looking for. I was going to dildos for dollars, but there are no dildos involved. Well, maybe there are. I don't know. She says, the hyperbole of this isn't funny to me, nor does it read as satire. Well, it's The Simpsons, so it's totally satire. That isn't a, in this hashtag Me Too moment, the show doesn't hold up observation. It's just how the world operates. Yesterday, I got street harassed 5 times on the way to work and twice on the way back. I've been inappropriately groped by too many strangers to keep count. If anyone cared enough to do a damn thing about it, maybe I could watch this episode and laugh. This episode feels like the least realistic of all of them, including the Halloween special Treehouse of Horror episodes. None of this even begins to touch on my disappointment at the way Lisa is continually used as a blah, 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 blah punching bag. And she says, I can't go there right now. She was my favorite. Well, I have to tell you, I am thrilled that you can't go there right now because I was getting I want to thank anyone who hung in there and made it through that entire segment. I would like to have played the clips, but I don't have a producer here, so I couldn't. That would have been a kind of a pain in the ass. But it's so ridiculous. First of all, she's saying she was getting catcalled is not okay. Here's the kind of catcalling that goes on in New York City. There are two kinds. One, construction workers yelling, "Hey, baby, looking good today, baby, yeah." Which is like, okay, fellas, cut it out, whatever, who gives a fucking... It's not really harmful, and unless someone grabs you, approaches you, or whatever, it's probably not the worst thing. The other thing, if you're not a New York City person, and you don't know what New York City street harassment really is, it's fucking deranged homeless guys who yell weird shit at everyone. Everyone. Male, female, whatever, they're going to do or yell something weird at you. The only reason it's sexual with chicks is because there's a sexual element. If it's a gay street harasser, then he'd probably be yelling at a dude. And the same thing goes for the groping. Again, you ride the subway in New York City, you're going to get fucking groped. People are going to jerk off in front of you. It's New York City. It's a fucking jungle. I honestly, Homer Simpson has nothing to do with this. People being assholes in New York City. Homer Simpson, the TV character, the fat oaf, is just as responsible for those people I was complaining about before who waddle down the sidewalk looking at their fucking Snapchats. Homer Simpson is just as responsible for that as he is for you getting catcalled or having some guy jerk off across from you on the subway. I mean, that's it. Right? I rest my case. Speaking of humorless assholes, this one comes to us from the good folks over at Campus Reform. Not that they're humorless assholes, but their subject matter certainly is. Several professors are urging the University of Wyoming to shelve its new marketing slogan, "The world needs more cowboys," because they feel it evokes the image of a white heterosexual male. Jesus fucking Christ. And then this is great. There's a follow-up bullet point. One professor says, they acknowledge that the history of cowboys is more diverse than that racially, and presumably also for sexual orientation, but insisted that the slogan will make non-white students feel less welcome. Well, bull fucking E and Lottie fucking da. This is amazing. I love that, first of all, I love that this... Fuck, it's a fucking school in Wyoming. I'm blown away that they call it the UW Committee on Women and People of Color are the ones pushing for... I mean, Jesus. How many... I don't know what the women in Wyoming look like, but how many fucking... I guess they got some Mexicans out there, people of color. I'm not a racist, by the way. I just don't like... I don't like race baiting, and I don't like, the sort of white guilt type thing. Oh, Jesus Christ. It's an associate professor of kinesiology and health. This is dripping over into fucking science. Oh, we're fucked. Oh my God. It was bad. It was bad when it was in, like, the arts and shit, but at least now it's hitting, kinesiology and health. This is very bad. She says, I am not the only person for whom the word cowboy invokes a white, macho, male, able-bodied, heterosexual, U.S.-born person. Yeah, it's fucking Wyoming. You just described all of the things that people in Wyoming really, really admire. It looks like the school is going forward with it, which is very good. I'm glad about that. And if you're wondering, of course, why the University of Wyoming chose the slogan, "The world needs more cowboys," it's because their mascot is a horse named, what is it? 1 second. Yes, the official mascot of the school is the cowboy, and their stadium mascot, who goes to all the games, is a horse called Cowboy Joe, and the school's logo is a silhouette of a cowboy on a bucking horse, because the great state of Wyoming, a western state with a rich tradition of cowboys and settlers and pioneers, and the founding of the country and western expansion, and all these things that we have now that form the United States, and a great piece of our history. And yes, it does involve white people, most of whom were men, but some amazing women back then. If you read about the Donner Party, some of the chicks fared far better than the men in that, and were instrumental in actually orchestrating the rescue effort. But just absurd to think that, you say Wyoming. What do you think about when you think about Wyoming? And what do you say? Like, you think about a cowboy plodding along on horseback out in the fucking prairie. All right, it's not like they're not calling it the New York City Cowboys. It's not the New York City straight white cowboys. It's just the Wyoming very generic cowboys. I mean, what do you call it then? The Wyoming gender non-conforming horse riders who happen to wrestle cattle in their free time? I mean, is that 10-gallon hat aficionados who hang out on a ranch but prefer their gender not be revealed? There's just no good fucking way about it. Let me tell you something. 10 years from now, it's going to be the University of Wyoming Broncos or some shit, or the Colts, or the Mustangs, or some horse thing. They're not allowing this anymore. And in case you were really, in case you doubt me, they link to a couple related articles. Students petition to eliminate offensive colonial mascot. Not going to dip into that one now. I'm going to come back to this for a future episode, because colonial. Because what holiday did we just celebrate but the 4th of July? Which represents what? The colonists who broke away from the crown to form this land of liberty of thee I sing. The place where all of the people of color, or people of whatever, who have been oppressed wherever, not like Syria, where if you're gay, they throw you off of a roof, or, like fucking China or whatever, where if you're gay, they fucking, like, chop your dick off. I don't know if the Chinese actually do that. I'm just kind of spitballing here. Or India, where if you're... India, if you get raped, they still have honor killings, because if you get raped, even the victim, they consider you an adulterer. I mean, Jesus fucking Christ, you would think the colonials... It's also a type of home. We can't call that a colonial anymore. We actually prefer to call it a non-inclusive two-story. Shut the fuck up. And the other one is LSU Tigers mascot, a symbol of white oppression. So I'll get to. I promise I will get to both of those in a future episode. I'm going to try to get someone from Campus Reform on the line to see if I can get an interview going, because it's almost too delightful to do on my own. But what do you say we move on? I don't want to chew up too much time on any of it. I just want to give you quick hits on each topic, and I tend to rant. Well, I guess anyone who said they wanted to move to Canada after Trump got elected might have to reconsider, because it seems like Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has more in common with the Orange Donald than he would have initially let on. Let's take a look, shall we? What's the headline? See, woman who accused Trudeau of groping issues statement. So apparently back in 2000, which, hey, look, we're going after people for people are having careers ruined for shit that happened in the 1970s. So if we're looking at them all, we got to look at them all. Justin Trudeau groped this chick, and they're not getting into much detail about how he groped her, but it was apparently at the Kokanee. I'm assuming it's not pronounced Kokanee, some Native American. Kokanee, some Indian name, Summit Festival in Creston, British Columbia. It was a fundraiser supporting avalanche safety. They keep I'm trying to find the part where it says that they keep using the term inappropriately handled. But then in headlines and stuff, they're saying groped. So I'm assuming that's what that means. I have nothing else to go on. But this is... I just want to... And I'm not going to get too deep in this. I think Trudeau fucking blows. I think it's cool that he wants to legalize pot. Or is legalizing pot. Like, good for that. But that's like a no-brainer. Especially, what do they call it? Is that Vancouver Kush, or like that British Columbia shit? I forget what it's... Some British Columbian shit's supposed to be the fucking bomb deezy. Look at me sounding like a fucking stoner. But Trudeau issues a fucking statement after this chick comes out and says that he grabbed her at this festival. I remember that day in Creston well. I had a good day that day, and I don't remember any negative interactions that day at all. Now imagine, let's put this on... let's say the shoe is on the southern foot here, and this is Donald Trump saying this. He's like, I remember that day in Creston very well. I had a very, very good day that day. People saying it was probably one of the best days. They're saying, of all the days, they're saying Donald, who could have had a better day? But they're saying Trump, he had a fantastic day. Probably one of, and a tremendous day. At what a great festival, and we're very sad about the tragic events for the festival, but still I had a tremendous and probably the best day. I do not remember any negative interactions that day at all. Would have been an incredibly sad to have a negative interaction on such a fantastic day, folks. You know what I mean. We're not having bad days. We are making days. We are making benefit music festivals great again. And people would have been in a fucking uproar. But Trudeau, because he's like the fucking darling of the progressive left, they cannot bear to part with him. He is like all they are clinging to in the Western Hemisphere right now, because their examples down south, way south, ain't too good. Little bit of a problem with socialism going on down there. So Canada is like their shining beacon of fucking light, right? They like Canada better than they like fucking Denmark and Switzerland and all those other, homo Northern European places. But yeah, and it's just kind of buried. And then I love it. Trudeau is just like, yeah, I'm gonna act really enlightened about all of this. He's like, part of this awakening we're having a society, a long-awaited realization is that it's not just one side of the story that matters, that the same interactions could be experienced very differently from one person to the next, and I am not going to speak for the woman in question. Could you imagine if Harvey Weinstein got on the stand and said that? Well, look, when I was groping her and jerking off in a plant and telling her that she'd never work in this town again if she didn't suck my cock, we all remember that interaction far differently than, she remembers it one way, I remember it another. I don't know why there are felony charges here. But Trudeau grabbed some chick at a music festival. Look, here's the deal. 18 years ago, he's a young guy. He's at a music festival. You know what young guys at music festivals do sometimes? They're a little fucked up. They get a little handsy. It doesn't mean it's a good thing. But this is the thing. Now, if everyone's going to have a thing, If we're holding everyone to the same level of accountability, then he gets to be held to the same level, the same scrutiny, the same marches. No more of this holding Justin Trudeau up as a feminist icon. That your days of doing that are over. If you continue to do that, you are now disingenuous. The argument has become disingenuous, and it is no longer about preventing the powerful from hurting the weak. It is about preventing people you don't like from having a voice to say things that you don't like, that have no relation to groping or sexual harassment whatsoever. So we need to recalibrate. Either Trudeau doing this is just as bad as everyone else, and like Al Franken and anyone else who did this shit, he's got to step down, and we need a replacement, and he should be sort of disappeared from a society, right? Separate but equal, as Trump said, or we look at this and we say, okay, we were weaponizing it. We were using it to get rid of people that we didn't like. We like this guy. We don't want to get rid of him. We were full of shit most of the time. And I'm not, again, the Weinstein stuff, that motherfucker should fry. I don't believe in the death penalty, but if he was walking down the street right after a storm and he got roasted by a live fucking wire, I certainly wouldn't weep. I think the only reason I would be disappointed is because I wouldn't get to see him spend the rest of his miserable fucking life in a box getting fucked in the ass by a black dude with a 12-inch cock. Yeah, that fat fuck. He could probably... You ever see those fat guys that you're like, you know what? I could probably titty fuck this guy. Yeah. Hope Jerome has a fucking field day. But you get my point, right? It can't just be... It has to be the same standard across the board. Same thing. Separate but equal. Separate incidents, equal treatment. That's what separate but equal means. Okay. That is... that's going to be about it for now. I do want to tell you about this just ridiculous book right before I wrap up here that I'm reading, and I say this coming to you from New York Ave in Jersey City, which is literally, I'm in the 300 block, so you go 2 blocks over, we're at the border of Union City, and this book, The Corporation, T.J. English, is a fantastic writer. I just finished reading The Savage City by him, so I had to read another one, and he's got a bunch of other books out there, mostly about like organized crime, urban crime, that sort of thing. He's written this book about the Cuban mob in Union City and how it was formed from these guys who were part of the Bay of Pigs invasion. And it is, I mean, in addition to being an amazing storyteller, the story just tells itself, because apparently in like the neighborhood that I live in, there were just car bombings and fucking gang shootouts and like dudes getting whacked like it's fucking Goodfellas. And this was apparently all going on like in the up to the 1990s. Like, I guess it was at its height in the 70s and 80s, but even through the 90s, this shit was going on. I mean, just so fucking wild. Like, apparently I'm living in, like, what was until, 2 decades ago was the fucking Wild West. So, I just wanted to tell you about how cool that shit was. It revolves around, they call it La Bolita, the little ball. It's, sort of a slang for numbers. Numbers, if you don't know, the numbers racket in urban areas is you go to a bolitero, they call them, is the numbers guy, runs the game, and you pick a number, and the winning number is going to be the total amount of money bet at a given racetrack for that day. It would be like, I think using like Pimlico or some shit like that, or up here they might have been using the Meadowlands. Whatever it is, you play that. It's just like playing the lottery. You pick a number, and if your number comes up, you win. This was the same shit. You'd bet a number, and if you win, you get paid cash. It's obviously it's organized crime run, so there's no taxes coming out. You get paid right on the spot. You're feeling good. You can buy plenty of those cervezas and some what do they call it, mujeres for the night. Mujeres is women, right? I hope I didn't say dudes accidentally. It's been a while since Spanish class. But absolutely fascinating to see how there was just this web of gang violence surrounding what comes off as this innocent little game. Really, really fascinating, interesting stuff. I don't want to give too much of it away, but some of the characters that you come across, guys. Fidel fucking Castro is in there. Santo Traficante is in there. It's just If you don't know who Santo Traficante is, if you've seen Donnie Brasco when they go on the yacht down in Florida, the mobster in the white hat, that's Santo Traficante. Such fascinating. I am obsessed with organized crime. It's just when I was a little kid, I wanted to be in the mob, but my mom wouldn't let me. Yeah, I know, it sucks, doesn't it? Wound up doing digital media instead. Yeah, real fucking treat that's been. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sack Tap. I didn't really have, there wasn't really much of a rhyme or reason. So I just wanted to hit on a few fucking things. I have more shit I want to look at next week. Again, I'm hoping to been on kind of a roll here where I'm able to get an episode out every week. So let us hope and pray that continues. So this should be you should be hearing this one by Thursday night, Friday morning, and I think going forward the production schedule will probably look a little bit like that. It'll probably be me, prep on Tuesday, record Wednesday, edit and post on Thursday. So it's there for your listening pleasure for the fin de semana. You know what I'm talking about, man? See, I told you I've been reading about these Cuban gangsters. Although I don't know if that was that more was that Mexican? No, I feel like Mexican is a little more of a speed. Ay, yes, le podcast is going to be ready on viernes. Sí, me gusta. Listen, sí. Miguelito make a joke while he bebe whiskey. Yeah, very funny. Yeah, ha 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 ha. You ever see Hispanic guys write ha 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 on Facebook? They write it with it's Jajaja. Just fucking with the gringos. And I fucking love Hispanics. I'm cool with the fucking Hispanic people, man. I served with them, went to war with them. Fucking Hispanics are good with me, dude. I'm good. Fucking get that wall out of the way, Donnie. Let him in, I say. But anyway, social plug real quick before I get out of here. Facebook.com/The Savage Crew, at Gary_Moiler on Instagram and Instagram TV, at Mike Montone on Twitter, and obviously this podcast, thesavagecrew.libsyn.com. You can find it there. You can find everything on thesavagecrew.com too. Or again, the Facebook page is facebook.com/savagecrew. Literally pinned to the top. Every podcast I have ever done is available at those links. So if you want more of the Mikey, that's where you go. You want more of the Mikey? You give me a likey. You heard me? All right, you fucks. I'm out. Peace.